on FFD. It is indeed a challenging time, as Ms. Azucena Arbalech mentioned this morning. But we're quite concerned about the answers, particularly from the World Bank and the IMF and other multilateral development banks, that seem to be limited barely to more and more lending. This is more and more debt, as we know. And don't get us wrong, access to concessional and long-term financing for developing countries is vital, but this overwhelming focus on market access, SDGs and green bonds issuing, blended financing is becoming a great concern for civil society, and particularly for communities in the Global South. We can only imagine the huge mountain of debt upon already unsustainable debt levels that will result from this. It's been said that new debt should be contributing to growth in order to be able to repay this debt. But the reality today is that in many countries, most new borrowing is going to refinancing existing debt obligations. So the new borrowing is actually going to the pockets of the creditors. And this is particularly worrying as we do not have a functioning debt resolution mechanism in place. The common framework is facing monumental challenges. Many of the speakers today touch upon those. And most importantly, it seems to be lack of political will to achieve an agreement on the ways forward within the G20, a space, by the way, with less country representatives than this fairly empty room. China joining Zambia's creditor committee is indeed a good news, as the IMF representative said, but it comes many months with delay. The common framework won't magically work. It's not a panacea, as the special envoy on financing the 2030 agenda stated. Beyond the political consensus, the IMF and the creditors should step up their game in providing legal protection and also concessional financing support to borrowing countries that choose to default on recalcitrant creditors, including lending into arrears policy. On public concessional and long-term financing for public goods, this is where we need to put the focus. A public concessional long-term financing that allows energy and economic transition without worsening debt problems. But as we pointed out yesterday, debt cancellations with an ambitious agenda to tackle the debt distress. As the president of the Trade and Development Board at UNCTAD mentioned, we need an agreement on a multilateral mechanism for debt resolution based on the already existing UN basic principles on sovereign debt restructuring processes. And as the ECOSOC Vice President proposed, a full reform of the international financial architectures. There seems also to be a consensus on this, but we need to take action to take this consensus forward. Finally, we also agree with Colombia and like-minded countries' representative on the need for a realistic assessment on debt sustainability, and we appreciate the progress on multi-dimensional vulnerability indexes, and we understand that we need an open review with UN guidance and civil society participation of the existing approach to debt sustainability based precisely on this work on multidimensional vulnerability indexes. As our colleague Emilia Reyes stated yesterday, debt cannot be considered sustainable if its payments prevent a country from affording climate resilience plans or gender equality policies. We need to have the talk, as Ms. Kivenga proposed this morning. We can't imagine a better chance to have this talk on reforms needed than the process towards a Finance for Development new conference in a couple of years. Thank you very much.